It sounds like running back Breece Hall is going to remain a member of the New York Jets in 2026, and Kirk Cousins is going to be available. Some news and notes from the combine pressers from Aaron Glenn, Darren Muji, a bunch of coach and GM speak with a few worthwhile nuggets mixed in there, and some news around the league on guys who may or may not become available. Now, Brees Hall, Darren Muji straight up said, like, we're trying to work on an extension with him, but if we can't get that done, we have to tag. So it sounds like Brees Hall is going to be a member of the New York Jets in 2026. It is just a matter of, is it going to be via the franchise tag or a short to medium term extension with the Jets? And with Brees, I felt this way since the moment they decided not to trade him. I feel as though this was decided when they didn't trade him, because if the Jets were not willing to exercise the franchise tag, give a 2 to 3 year extension to Brees Hall, I doubt the guaranteed money would go much beyond 2 years anyway. Or at the very least, slap the transition tag on him and let him go to a higher bidder, then they would have traded him, right? They had an offer for, I believe it was a fourth round pick, or Kansas City would have given them a three if the Jets gave Brees and a six. You're talking about just around the 100th pick in the NFL draft for a team that was 1-7. So yeah, if they had no intention of Brees Hall returning, or didn't have that tag in their back pocket, then they would have moved off of Brees Hall, because 9-10 games of him in a lost season is not worth more than almost any draft capital, especially a decent mid-round pick from a Chiefs team that ended up, you know, kind of bottoming out and raising that draft slot anyway. And with Brees, I think that Brees Hall has ironically gone from overrated, when not only Jet fans, but if you remember heading into the 2024 season, um, and all of those rankings, the position rankings around the league, the ESPN puts them out, the fantasy guys talking about Brees Hall being a top 2 or 3 running back, right? And it just doesn't happen, right? That doesn't click for him. The offensive coaching was obviously kind of bad. The offense was just stale. I thought Brees individually had a really tough 2024 because he had drops and fumbles, and those are independent of circumstances. Like, you drop the ball, you fumble the ball. But this past year, he kind of returned to, like, yeah, that's a good back. That's a top third of the league starting running back who's going to get the yards that are blocked for him, maybe a few more. He's obviously not in the Bijan Robinson like tier of elite backs that you can truly run an offense through, but he can get you 1,000 yards on average to plus efficiency, and he has been one of the more productive running backs as a pass catcher since he's entered the league. So to me, yeah, if they didn't do that, and then it's like, oh, they're going to sign whatever Tyler Algier or somebody else for 7 or 8 million. That's fine. But then again, that would go back to, well, then you should have had a fourth round pick plus the Tyler Algiers of the world. Once you didn't do that, that says that you want to keep Brees Hall. So then you go ahead and you keep him. The transition tag for 11 million seems about fair. 1 year, 11 million. Obviously, that still keeps him motivated because he would be a free agent the next year. Are the Jets going to have a rookie quarterback in some capacity start this year? I would wager, yeah. Like, I truly think they're just gonna, if Ty Simpson is there at 16, I think they're gonna take him. That's my prediction. I don't mention a lot because people conflate predictions with you're condoning it. So I don't want to go back and forth with people like, how can you say Ty Simpson? Look, I just think I think he's going to have a quote unquote good process throughout the combine. Apparently, he had gastritis and lower back and all this stuff, and he was really skinny towards the end of the year. I have my own qualms about Ty Simpson, um, but I think he's going to be a first round quarterback, and the Jets have 2 first round picks, man. So, them are the Browns, one of those teams, or the Rams, one of those teams who feasibly could use a quarterback who have 2 first round picks are probably going to take him. I think the Jets at 16 could be a spot where Ty Simpson is drafted. It's not an endorsement, just a prediction, right? So Brees Hall is a player that does help a young quarterback a bit. He did I mean, look at the game against Cleveland where he took a dump off and ran it 64 yards, right? Like, I remember the game against the Giants with Zach Wilson where he, again, single-handedly won a couple of games. Like, you can have, like, 2 games a year where you kinda put the offense on his back a little bit, and then past that, like, he's solid. In terms of his I think Breece is a little bit like, there's a difference between do I think Breece Hall is, like, a pillar of leadership for the Jets organization? No. Do I think almost any running backs are? Not really. Like, I think that the way we view Breece Hall and people who are maybe sick of him or the things that he tweets, which I don't think he's tweeted anything like super crazy in a while. Like, he'll tweet about other teams and how they're having success. Like, wow, look at this cool offense in a way that may rub people as thinking he's insinuating that it would be better to play for that team. But yeah, man, every running back who's a free agent thinks that too. Every running back who is a free agent who you could possibly get to replace Breece Hall thinks playing for like Ben Johnson would be good. They would enjoy that. Like, there's a fine line between is it's like he's whatever 20, all of us are anywhere from 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years older than him. I think of that stuff is just only a talking point because the Jets suck, man. Like him and Sauce Gardner tweeting about video games or we golf or whatever. That's different than Elijah Moore quitting on the team or getting a DUI in the offseason or a domestic violence. Like it's just stuff that if you really are dead set on following the day-to-day life of the Jets, like if you're listening to this or obviously somebody who makes content, like I think if you're a fan that just tunes in to the games or whatever, like starts paying attention to training camp news, I feel like if you brought that up to them, they'd be like, "What are you talking about?" Like, "Oh, Breece Hall tweets things. Oh, okay, I didn't know that." Like, who cares, man? Who cares? I think he's just kind of like he's just laid back. That's his personality. So I think that stuff is a little overkill on Breece. Yeah, man, you're gonna bring somebody. You could bring in somebody. You could bring whoever you want. If you want to lose for 4 or 5 straight years with them too, they're gonna be, they're not gonna have the most positive affect all the time. So there's Hall. You keep him because if you weren't going to keep him, you should have traded him. So I think that kind of makes sense. Now, a couple of other some news around the league really quick. Kyle Pitts franchise tagged. I thought he could have been an interesting potential option for the Jets. I think Alec Pierce is not going to reach free agency. I think that'll either be a tag or an extension. There was already a report that the Colts are not going to let him test free agency. The Ravens have reportedly offered Linderbaum a market setting offer per their GM. Their GM said, we gave him a market setting offer. He's basically getting out in front of it and saying, hey, we're not lowballing him. They're where they're willing to make him the highest paid center in NFL history, just by how much. So I think that top, like the Pierce and the Linderbaum stuff, I'm probably not even going to put them in any mock off seasons anymore. I think that like George Pickens, like they're just not really almost free agents to me. And Kyle Pitts, because they can get him for the tight end tag, which is much cheaper, that kind of makes sense for the Falcons. So they keep him for one more year. I like Kyle Pitts. He's still like younger than Will McDonald, and he gets 600 to 1,000 yards every year. So he's not an option anymore either. Who is an option is Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins, the GM of the Atlanta Falcons, the new GM, said that as soon as the new league year starts, where they start doing the cuts, that Kirk Cousins will be cut and he will become a free agent. And yeah, I think Cousins is one of the least bad options if we want to frame it like that, like we do every time we talk about veteran quarterbacks with the Jets. You have to ask yourself who is the least bad option. And I think Cousins, if you're looking at I don't want to say he has a high ceiling per se, but I just don't think the Jets are going to be shopping in the Kyler Murray or Malik Willis aisles. So those guys aren't even really a part. I could be wrong, but I'm just operating as that's not what they're going to do. I don't think they're going to give Malik Willis $56 million because he had a couple of really awesome games. I just don't think they're going to do that. It's kind of insane. It's almost more insane than drafting Ty Simpson. I mean, seriously. So I don't think they're going to do that. So I think they're going to get some sort of stopgap veteran that they don't have to trade picks for and that they could just get for 1 year. Like, please, whatever they do, can you please just make sure there's no dead money into 2027 with whatever quarterback that you get, right? I mean, enough's enough with that. But with Cousins, it's possible that he has one more left in him and he could be like the 19th, 20th best quarterback in the NFL and probably like put up numbers similar to what Aaron Rodgers did in 2024, where obviously if a lot of other things are going well, you could maybe try and scratch a wild card. Right? Now he also could look like Matt Ryan on the Colts where it's like, "Oh, he's done now." So there's that. But there's a little bit of a ceiling because he has been a good starter before. He was injured, came back and then, finished pretty solid the back half of his second year off the Achilles injury, but he is 38 and he has torn an Achilles recently. So there is risk there, but it's like, yeah, if Kirk Cousins went out there and threw, 24 touchdowns and 9 picks and completed 66% of his passes, you wouldn't be shocked. So he's got a chance because the rest of the options, like Derek Carr, who probably he could be in the same bucket as a lot of the guys that we're talking about, but it's like, can you even throw? We don't even know. And then the Mariotas and the Mitch Trubisky's, the Brissetts, I think they're all kind of one of the same. I don't even the teams that have backups like Davis Mills or Brissett or Mac Jones. I think that if you're one of those teams, like you probably want the Jets' fourth round pick to come and take your backup, and the fourth round pick should be that's right around pick 100. That should be you're trying to get a starter, right? And then they don't pick until like one. I think they don't pick after that until like what is it 175 or something. So do you want to go from pick 45 to pick like 170 something if you trade that fourth round pick? So I think you want Kirk Cousins is nice because he doesn't cost draft capital and you're not inheriting a contract, so you could just make it a 1 year deal. And I would say this for Kirk Cousins too. And I know this is kind of hypocritical because it doesn't really matter if you're not obsessing over the day to day with the Jets, but still, I don't want it to be a scene. Like it is Kirk, you can come be our starting quarterback for a year, maybe babysit a rookie. Here's a 1 year offer. Just take it or leave it. I don't want it to be a Kirk Cousins decision hour where there's the risk of him publicly leveraging the Jets again. Like, here it is, dude. Take it or leave it. We're not like, oh, we're flying back and all this. Now he's going to this city. It's just like, dude, do you want to be a freaking Jet or not? Because the Jets don't have a lot of good options. How many options are there for teams that are just going to straight up say, you're the Jets starting quarterback week one, Kirk Cousins? Not many. I mean, is he going to go back to Minnesota? I feel like O'Connell has job security. That was the decision where that GM got fired. Like O'Connell has job security. I think enough to where he can just say, I'm going to find out if JJ McCarthy can play this next year. And if he can't, I have enough security that I'll get another shot to address quarterback. So I don't know what 38-year-old Kirk Cousins is doing for the Vikings. And ironically, some of the teams that need quarterbacks, like the Browns, they don't have a single starting offensive lineman under contract. So, pardon me, but the Jets are probably a better situation than that. Right? So there's Kirk Cousins. Yeah, I think he would be, especially if they're going to go the Ty Simpson route, Cousins would probably be like an ideal bridgy kind of guy. Muji said that Justin Fields is quote on the roster, so that's that standard. He's not going to be here for long. GM speak there, and he was pretty non-committal about AVT and John Simpson. The way he went to speak about Breece and how he's going to be here, and how he indicated they're leaning towards picking up Will McDonald's fifth-year option, which Will was not good last year. I think the run defense obviously is always going to be capped. Like I'm not under any illusions that Will McDonald is going to somehow at the age of 26 going to find a way to become a good run defender. I thought that the more disappointing part of his season was that he went stretches while being invisible as a pass rusher. Now, obviously, the Jets didn't have circumstances that were very conducive to pass rushing, but individually, you know, you can only make so many excuses. Like he just was very quiet for stretches of games. Where the previous season, like he brought it as a pass rusher. In 2024, Will McDonald was very good as a pass rusher, and the pressures always will bear that out more than the sacks. Like he had over 60 pressures. Getting over 60 pressures as a not a full time starter is crazy. Like he was just winning left and right. So if he can still do that, if you can, we can say, hey, we're going to play you 57% of the snaps, go get us 9 sacks and 60 pressures. That's, I mean, who else is on the team is getting sacks? Will McDonald has 19 sacks and over 100 pressures the last 2 seasons. No one on the Jets has even half of that on either metric. So, I mean, I guess if they want, if they are now, the thing is, the benefit the Jets have with the number 2 pick is they can know who they're going to take. Like they can know who they're going to take before free agency. Realistically, I'm not sure. I'm not saying they will, but they could. Like you can't get. I mean, you've been mathematically eliminated since what? Like Thanksgiving or whatever. You can't get your homework done on the top, 7 or 8 prospects that could potentially be taken at number 2. Like, you can't know by then. You're gonna meet him at the combine. I don't know, man. But they can know a lot before other teams. So, like for instance, if they know they're gonna take David Bailey, then they could say, hey, maybe we'll trade Will McDonald for a day 2 pick, use that for something else, and then Bailey will step in as our speed rusher who we think can be better against the run than McDonald. Right. So they'll be able to know and make decisions on who they're going to take at number 2 because they're not picking 6 or 7 where they don't know where the board's going to fall. Everybody knows Mendoza's Raider, so the Jets basically the draft starts there. Like they're basically on the clock right now. But McDonald, it's like it, he's a complete bum until it's like who is getting sacks if you move off of him, right? And then maybe if you pick up a 5th year option and you decide to actually be a somewhat normal defense this year, where he can have again the 10, 11 sacks, 60 pressures he did the year before, and then you can trade him maybe for more, maybe when his stock is a little bit higher. So I don't see the benefit of trading McDonald now. Jermaine is different because his contract is almost up, and he had an Achilles tear, so you don't even know like what is that just, oh, it's a 2-year injury, so next year he'll be back to it? Is that it's like Carl Lawson where it's a career altering injury? Does he want to be here? If he balls out, will he stay? If he doesn't, it says it's a moot point. So Jermaine is a whole different ball of worms. Where if they get an offer, like if the Titans want to offer their 3rd round pick, which is a high 3rd round pick, and you could send Jermaine and you get 15 million in cap space back and a top 70, pick, that's different. But McDonald, it just seems very suboptimal to move off of him now. So I think you kind of pick up the 5th year option to give you some to make him even more tradable a year from now and see what he's got. But not as committal on John Simpson and AVT. I think the issue with AVT is I think AVT is going to have a pretty lucrative market around the league. Like again, the Cleveland Browns do not have a starting offensive lineman under contract. I mean, the Jets have been there. Think about the Jets teams we've seen before where it's like, hey, we have one starting offensive lineman heading into the season. And AVT was on the Giants. We'd probably be like, yeah, maybe we sign him because shoot, man, sign him and cross our fingers. Maybe there's a team that sees him as a tackle or is so desperate they're willing to give him 2 years of guaranteed money. So at the end of the day, I just don't know if the Jets are in a position to win a bidding war for Elijah Vera Tucker. I'm kind of team like drafts a guard between pick 44 and your fifth round picks and just stick them in there and see what happens. Especially if they know that they're not going to take a quarterback high, where a rookie quarterback is going to play a lot of the season because they'll know if there's a chance they're going to take Ty Simpson. They're going to know like, hey, if Simpson's there at 16, we're going to take him. If you know that, then you got to maybe ensure you're at a minimum threshold of some stuff on offense. But if they're just going to straight up do a muckabout season with a Marcus Mariota variant, then there's no harm in just throwing a random rookie at left guard. Teams do it all the time. All the time. 5 firsts in 2 years. You don't have to force a pick. Well, we don't have to, but could be fun. Yeah, thank goodness they have this draft capital. Yeah, I'm not who's the betting favorite for the I think well, Reese is number 1. I think it's Reese, then Bailey, then Bain. And there's a pretty big gap between yeah, so it's Reese and then Bailey's not too far behind him, and then Bain is much further behind. I still am standing firmly that there's some galaxy braining going on with Ruben Bain, and cooler heads will prevail, and we'll get these Ruben Bain being Mel Kiper saying Bain is going to be drafted between like picks 12 to 16. Imagine getting Bain at 16. It just reminds me of Armand Membu and Sauce Gardner being mocked in the 20s, pre combine, those years. If you remember, Membu was in terms of the mock draft and the consensus, Membu was a very late riser. And that's why people got nervous because we're like, oh my God, he had a historic combine and he's just getting drafted because he's an athletic freak. And it's like, dude, Armand Membu was like one of the most slam dunk evaluations you could ever make. Like you watch him play football and it's like, oh, yeah. And he tests at the combine and you're like, oh, what's the catch? That's what I'm asking myself with Ruben Bain. I'm like, what is the catch? Now, obviously, the catch might be that he has like 5-inch arms. Uh, I still think it's going to age to be stupid if he falls due to that, but we shall see. Regardless, they're going to get some really good players in here, so can't sweat about it too much. They got to do a better job on day 3, which they've struggled to do for a long time because coaches and quarterbacks are part of how day 3 picks are elevated, and we've struggled in that department for a long time. So that's part of it too. But I do think that Ty Simpson to the Jets is going to just become a very popular mock draft selection like 2 to 3 weeks from now. It'll probably be like the most common pick. So now what does that mean? Nothing. But I think that's what's going to happen. And that's where the leaves are going to go. Thank you, Hennessy. Our first 4 picks need to be day 1 starters. I mean, yeah, there's just so many positions that they need. I can't imagine what's a position they could take that wouldn't be a starter. Maybe uh, I mean, would they take a corner in like the second round that's behind Stevens and AZ Thomas? I don't see it. I think they're going to get some sort of defensive front 7 player with Bailey, Reese, or Bain, most likely at 2. So they're going to be starting. They're going to draft a receiver with one of those first 4 picks, I would guess. That's going to be at least their 3rd receiver. Like maybe AD Mitchell just really, kind of takes off and he's the 2, but he'll at least be, the 3rd receiver. And then whether it be safety, linebacker, guard, even if they have pick 44, they want to take like Pons or Keontae Scott to be the day 1 nickel. Okay, that's still somebody who's playing 70% of the snaps at pick 45, whatever it is. That's fine. What have we got? Defensive end, linebacker, safety, offensive tackle, um, offensive guard. Maybe I think you mean right. Trade down from two is the best option. Well, yeah, of course, but I mean, if someone's willing to trade up, then yeah, but that might be easier said than done, right? Are we sure they go wide receiver? No, we're not sure of anything, but uh, we'll see. I mean, unless they go ahead and sign Wandell Robinson to some expensive deal, it's kind of hard to know before free agency. But at pick two, I don't think so. I don't think like what free agent are they going to sign that we're going to say, oh well, now they're not taking Arvell Reese. You know what I mean? I think pick two is just which one of those Reese, Bain, or Bailey do you like better? Because I don't think they're going to sign a free agent that prohibits them from doing that. Now, obviously, if they, give some guard a 2, 3 year deal, then they're probably not drafting a guard at 16. And so on. Like, oh, if they bring in a safety, an expensive safety, then maybe they're not, drafting a safety high. But for pick two, I think it's just gonna be which one of those three guys do they like the best. Tony says maybe I'm crazy, but I would trade pick 103 for Mac Jones. Arian Smith was our fourth rounder last year. Well, I get that, but pick one. It's still a valuable pick just because it was used in what seems like a poor way last year. You know, um, I mean Denzel Mims was a late second round pick, so should we give them pick 44? My thing with Mac Jones is if it was any other coach but Shanahan, I might buy that he somehow has had a late resurgence or whatever, but I really think Kyle Shanahan is just one of one where so many capable quarterbacks who are at least like him, especially Mac Jones, has the mental part of the game down. He just has limited tools. Whereas a player like Sam Darnold's like, no, Sam Darnold always had the tools to be a top 10, top third of the league quarterback, but he was in terrible situations and he needed to develop like the mental part of the game. Like, what is there to unlock with Mac Jones? He could run an offense, but if it was anyone other than Shanahan, I think I would say maybe, but it's just was any but would did anybody think Mac Jones is worth trading for, after his last 4 seasons? I think that would just be a complete robbery by Shanahan by saying, "Laughing my ass off. I'm gonna have Mac Jones put up really good numbers, and then I'm gonna sucker you into a pick, and then I'm gonna go sign Marcus Mariota or whoever, and if Brock Purdy goes down, Marcus Mariota will get 8.2 yards per attempt in my offense too, because everybody does who's not like a complete an entire scrub. That's why Jimmy Garoppolo has the 4th highest yards per pass in NFL history. I still don't even know if Jimmy Garoppolo is good. We might find out. The Jets might sign him. So it wouldn't be the end of the world to me, but again, if it was any other coach, man, I might buy it. I mean, yeah, he's better than Fields. I feel like Reese will be the default pick if they get the roster they want in here. Certainly the favorite, and I think certainly Reese is probably the most scheme independent. I do think we are galaxy braining collectively. We are all galaxy braining the 3-4-4-3 stuff a little bit too much just because they're not going to run a like everyone's multiple and everyone's runs mostly nickel. And at the number, especially at the number two pick, like if you don't think you could draft somebody because, oh, he can only play in a 4-3 or he can only play in a 3-4, you're not a number two pick. You're not a number two pick if you can only play in one of the other two. What's a top five pick in NFL history who they were it's like, oh, they were worth a top five pick who could only be good in a 3-4 or a 4-3. Never, not one in NFL history. Like one, some guys might be better than others, but like TJ Watt, like he's that Leo outside linebacker. Yeah, in a 4-3, I have a feeling he'd be okay. Even Nick Bosa, who is like a built in a lab 4-3 end, if his team switched to a 4-3, if he went to a team with a 3-4, I think they would figure it out, and Nick Bosa would be a highly impactful player. Could Quinnen Williams be an odd front end? Yeah, he'd be fine. Derek Stingley, oh, he's going to a more it wouldn't. In fact, I would argue that a number 2 overall pick should be a player that's so good, you should consider tweaking your scheme to maximize their talents. So, it it's all the same. Like, if you when you watch football, like, watch how their teams are lining up. Like, it's all comes down to a 4-2-5, like, however you wanna whatever verbiage we wanna use. Like, it's when you look at how they're when you look at what happens when if you take a still frame, point 0.5 seconds post snap, everyone's running a 4-2-5 defense, pretty much, unless you have some guys like Kyle Hamilton who can kinda be math changers for you or Nicky Manwari, but still, I think the 4-3-3-4 stuff is a little bit overblown. Like, you're an edge. You're an edge. Glenn ran a 4-3 in Detroit. Um, Last year, the Jets were one of the few teams that was completely multiple. There was a chart for this that I saw. They were like completely multiple. Them and one other team where it was like truly you're not one or the other. Doesn't Reese play linebacker NDE like Parsons? That's definitely the number 2 pick to me. Well, yeah, it's just a matter of I think the issue is Parsons was I mean, Parsons was legitimately his outcome was generational. I don't remember enough to remember if he was considered a generational prospect. Obviously, he was considered very good. He went top 15 in a stacked draft. I don't remember if he was being talked about as a generational player, but um, that, oh, you're mostly an off ball linebacker and we're going to convert you to full time edge and you're going to be a defensive player of the year level edge right away as a rookie is someone I don't even think you can make pro comps to. There's just certain guys like Randy Moss. Like we're not pro comping anybody to Randy Moss. Come on, right? Aaron Donald. No. So, but that's the idea you're getting at, right? Somebody who had crazy play strength, athleticism. I think Arvell Reese had even less snaps at edge than Parsons. That's that's kind of what you're going for, though. You're hoping to tap into some crazy, freakish speed to power as an edge rusher. I think a good outcome would be like when Andrew Van Ginkel was at his best under Flores and made a second team All Pro. Like if you can just get the best Andrew Van Ginkel sustained over 8 to 10 years. Um, well, it's probably a borderline Hall of Famer because you're making a second team All Pro 8 to 10 times. But yeah, that's the idea they're going for. Aaron Glenn confirmed he's calling plays on defense as well, which we knew. He said calling plays is his superpower. Is Caleb Downs possible at 2? I mean, predictively, I would say Reese is a heavy favorite, then a gap, and then Bailey and Bain together on a second tier, and then a gap, and then Downs. And then beyond that, Styles, receiver, um, Ty Simpson for now is like marginal percentage points, right? So you're talking like 50% Reese, whatever, 15% Bain, 15% Bailey, like 8% downs and then like 2% this guy, 1%, right? So it's something kind of like that. I can't rule it out, but it would be historic. I don't think a safety has gone number 2 in like 30 years. But I'll leave it there. Quick update here. We'll keep some news on the feed as the combine chugs along.